Hello, everyone out there, and welcome to the Art of Attraction with Dominey Drew. I'm here to answer your relationship questions, your problems, your struggles, and help in any way I can. My name is Dominey Drew. If you're just tuning in for the first time, welcome, welcome. I run a business called Radical Intimacy, Dominey Drew Coaching on Facebook, and you're very welcome to join me there. I can also be found on Twitter at Dominey Drew and on Instagram at the same handle at Dominey Drew, and that's DOMINEYDREW. So please feel free to follow me there or send in your questions. I'm always happy to answer individual people's, unique struggles, unique issues. When one person writes in about one thing, then it tends to resonate with a whole lot of people. So it can be a really powerful thing. So today, I want to talk a little bit about who I am and what I do. I specialize in men and relationships. I'm a men's relationship coach. Specifically, I help single men attract life partners through personal and relationship coaching. And so I do that via an online 8-week course, primarily online. And then periodically I meet individually with my clients and sit with them for an hour, via Skype or via phone, and we really zone in and look deeply at what exactly is holding people back. So specifically, I work most often with single men. I do work with women sometimes, and I do work with people in relationships sometimes. But primarily, my interest is really in, the title of the show, the art of attraction. Attraction can be an incredibly powerful thing. It's my favorite thing about it, and the reason why I decided in particular to go into this work, is that it's completely authentic. Attraction cannot be faked, really. You can't pretend that it's not there when it is, and you just about can never pretend that it is there when it isn't. So what tends to happen is, we grow up, we have our childhoods, we experience what we experience, and most of the influencing experiences that we have in our life tend to happen before the age of 7. Okay, so we have these experiences in childhood, and they leave marks on us in one way or another. They really impact us, right? When we're young and impressionable, we have to take in these experiences, and they form who we are. And what ends up happening through, we sort of have rough experiences when we're kids, even if we have great upbringings. We have traumatic experiences when we're young, and we tend to shut down parts of ourselves. Okay, we may not feel our emotions fully. We may not be comfortable being vulnerable with another person. We may not be comfortable being intimate with another person. We may feel like we have to fight our way through things or force our way through things. And really, what this ends up doing is, although psychologically it works as a protecting, our brain is sort of attempting to protect us from having the same experience happen over again that happened when we were a child. What ends up happening is we carry these into adulthood, and by the time we get to adulthood, they're a huge pain in the ass, right? They're blocking us from what we want instead of protecting us. They're protecting us from good things as opposed to only from negative things. So what I do with my clients is I see, maybe a client has come to me with, the women who always reject them, who always leave them, okay? Well, if at a young age they had some kind of experience that led them to draw the conclusion, in a way, it's an unconscious conclusion, that they are unlovable or undeserving or not enough, then they will grow up into adulthood radiating that belief. And so people will feel that, right? Women will feel that. And so what ends up happening is that we're radiating things, we're giving off impressions and energies that we don't realize we're giving off, right? They're totally unconscious. And so a client will come to me and everyone just rejects him and he has no idea why. And he's not even doing anything wrong. Some of this will translate into physical activity, like maybe he'll do things that will sort of make it easier for women to reject him, but he's doing them without meaning to. Does that make sense? So he's going about his life, he's dating, and he's being great in relationships, and he's doing the best he can, and then the women will just naturally leave because subconsciously he's telling them to. So the reason why this work is so powerful is that, when these things become conscious, right? When you realize that you're telling women every day to leave you or to reject you in small ways and in big ways. When that becomes conscious, all of a sudden you're not a victim of your fate. Okay, you're not a victim of the world around you. You're suddenly empowered. Okay, and people can see this different ways. When you take responsibility for what happens in your life, some people sort of see that as blame. They go, "Oh, it's my fault that all the women leave me." It's like, okay, well, there's a little bit of a twist there, right? Because now you're indicating that you are bad because you're sort of doing something that's causing these women to leave you. But imagine if you go through your life for 50 years and women are always leaving you and you have no idea why. Well, what's significant about that situation? To me, what's significant about that situation is you're a victim of it, right? There's nothing that you can do to fix that. So if you take responsibility for it, and yeah, it takes balls. I'm not going to lie about that, right? It's a lot easier to put your head in the sand and to pretend shit has nothing to do with you, but it also doesn't solve your problem. So it depends how tired you are of always being left or always being in, relationships that are always clashing, right? Or always being surrounded by drama or always being surrounded by uncertainty or whatever it is that your pattern is. When you look down into it and you see the root cause, you're able to shift it. It's now in your control. Okay, so now you've gone from not having any idea why things happen to you or how to influence them in any way. From that, you've gone to okay, I know that I do this thing. And even if you don't know how to stop doing it, just the fact that you know that it's happening, all of a sudden you are empowered. Now you have a decision you could make. Oh yeah, I'm pushing people away, and I don't mean to. So do I want to do that today, or do I not? Or do I want to do something else today? But you don't have the option while it's unconscious, right? You're a victim because you have no say in the matter. Okay. So you have, you're on autopilot, right? It's like a life by default as opposed to a life by design. And the more that you're willing, and it really is a willingness, the more that you're willing to own your own life experience, really. It's not just your actions, because people have a relatively easy time with that. The extent to which you are willing to own everything that happens in your life, to take responsibility, at least in part, for everything that happens in your life, to that extent you will be able to make a different choice and choose something that you actually want. Okay? So that's the way out of those sort of victim places of, oh my gosh, I'm always being left, or I'm always getting bored after 2 years and leaving, or whatever it is that, again, whatever your relationship pattern is. So in my work, I work with these clients, and it's interesting. People sort of ask me, am I a dating coach, right? And you could call me that. That would totally be fine, right? But to me, a dating coach is going to tell you, how to talk and how to, I don't know. I sort of think of it as like those tips and tricks of like the pickup artist type of work, right? And the thing is, even if a client comes to me and says, I have no idea how to talk to women, as I said, I have one-on-one sessions with my clients. If what you want to work on is talking to women, then we will work on talking to women. for sure. Like that is, a skill we can do. But for the most part, most people, by the time we get done with our sort of when I sit down with my clients initially and have a conversation with them, by the time we're done, it's quite clear that that's never anybody's problem. It's not like everything in you is aligned and ready to meet a person and divinely and perfectly ready, but you just don't have the words. Because the fact of the matter is, if you were confident enough, then you would just walk up and have the words, right? Like that's one of the things of one of the aspects of confidence, right? Is you can sort of pull it out of your hat, pull it out of your ass, depending on your kind of confidence. So, but you really are able to make it up spur of the moment, to be spontaneous about it, right? And so rarely is the problem ever what it looks like it is, and that's one of the reasons I think why people have a difficult time deciphering what the problem actually is, because they're looking at the symptoms, but the root cause is often different. So one of the ways that I'm able to get results with my clients so quickly is, well, it's twofold. One is that, if you go to a traditional therapist, which is great, everybody should have a therapist, it's a great idea, they work on the mental level, right, on the psychological level. And they're really addressing that particular space, and you get a lot done with that, you really do. But what I do goes a lot deeper than that. So I work also on the mental and psychological level. I have a master's degree in psychology and have studied that a great deal as well. But what I'll also take into account is all the other levels of you. So you're not only a mental being, right? You also have a physical body. You have emotions. You have, you have a psyche. You have a spiritual side. What have you. So I work on all of those levels. Okay, the mental, psychological, emotional, energetic, physical, and spiritual. Okay, because you are a being that includes all those things. So while I could improve your life by working just on the mental level, I could do a lot more by taking, all that shit into account, right? How what your belief structure is, believe it or not, it influences your body. Okay, so a lot of times, even though I'm working with my clients on dating issues, right? And on, finding someone, attracting a mate, what ends up happening actually is everything in their life ends up changing. Not like everything gets turned on its head, but what's happening is, if you take your love life and your business life and your, your hobbies, what's the common denominator of all those things, right? You are. Right? You are the one who has your hobbies. You are the one who works at your business, and you are the one who is in the middle of your love life. So what I end up doing is I'm changing you, or I'm giving you the opportunity to change yourself. I don't actually change anybody, but the work ends up going straight to the core of the issue and shifting it there, and so then everything else changes. So your physical body, like when I began this work, and I've been doing this work for about 15 years, when I started, my physical body was very, very, very different. Very different. And I wasn't able to change it. It caused a lot of frustration and stress and unhappiness in me, actually. And then at some point, I shifted something, that whatever that one thing was, in my mind, and everything changed. And then my body just melted away. It just changed, okay? Because I had changed. And my physical body, on some levels, a reflection of who I am inside. So what ends up happening, even though I'm focusing on relationships, is that other areas, money starts to maybe come in because we're removing blocks, right? And so anyway, so the dating coach thing, people sort of ask me if I'm a dating coach, and I have to say, almost never, again, unless it's specifically requested that someone wants help with X, Y, and Z, specifically in their dating life, I don't give advice. Ever. Because, for a couple of reasons. One is that for me to tell you what you ought to do with your life indicates that I know more about your life than you do, your path than you do. And, while I have an objective viewpoint on what you might need, or what, I've got, I've spent a lot of years developing my intuition. And I have a very strong and very accurate intuition about people, and what they do, right? Particularly where people block themselves. I seem to have a kind of gift of seeing how people hold themselves back, like seeing where people hold themselves back. And so that's why I've developed this, training program where I can, create a structure to help people, find that out and free themselves from it. So, so when sort of people ask about, advice, like I don't give advice. So that's one reason. So while I have intuition and insight, and an objective opinion, which can be quite useful, it's presumptuous in a way for me to assume that I know more about your life than you do. And the second reason is, as I said before, it's rarely a problem, right? It's rarely the problem that you're coming to me with. So if you say I need help talking to women, I can teach you how to talk to women brilliantly. But if you're still too afraid to approach them because talking to women wasn't actually the issue, then you see how it starts getting a little unclear. It gets the layers, right? There's layers to this. But the main reason why I don't give advice is, quite genuinely, I don't need to. What I do, rather than tell you what you should do with your life, is I can show you what you are doing with your life. Okay? So, we were just saying how sometimes you'll, you're doing these things unconsciously, right? You have no idea why X, Y, and Z is happening in your life. And, I mean, just about everybody on the planet is like this, right? We don't know what's going on. If we did, you would fix it. If something unpleasant were happening in your life and it were logical and you knew what it was, you understood it, you would fix it, right? That's the logical conclusion. But usually you don't. And so then you're a little bit stuck, okay? And so what I can do is show you how you're getting, why you're getting the results that you're getting in life, okay? And there, right in there, without any advice, right in there is where the magic happens, right? Because in having that pointed out, and really sort of draw your own conclusions in this sort of method that I use, you end up, you have the realization, you wake up really a bit in that moment, okay? You become conscious of something that was previously unconscious. And again, once that happens, it's in your control. And you can either do that thing continually or you could not. It's totally up to you. So, in the transformational sort of process, both psychologically, energetically, on many levels, 90% of the work is in the realization, is in becoming conscious of it. And so much shifts with just that awareness. It's truly profound. I mean, I've seen transformations in people that I wouldn't have believed if I hadn't seen it. And I'm probably counting myself among those, if I'm honest. And so it's extremely powerful work. And then the results are really significant. So that's why it's kind of great. So, so that's a little bit about sort of, how I work and what the process is like. And then, here we are, I get to sit down with you once a week, and I get to, talk to you about common dating problems and where people are struggling and what they need and what people tend to come across and solutions and things like that. And so what I thought I would do today is do a kind of a light version of online dating. Okay, online dating is massively popular at the moment and has a lot of, really great benefits and some, pretty serious drawbacks. So so I want to talk a little bit about, putting yourself out and online dating and exactly what that means, what that can look like, pitfalls to watch out for, and then just some, some guidelines, okay? A guide to successful online dating. And this is a huge topic, and I'm sure I'll go into it in a future show, but, I just figured I'd start here, okay? So, so this is what I wrote about this. The many worlds of online dating. Sometimes they're badlands. For some reason, I don't know, this was, everything was going like I was a sailor here. Everything is going like, like Mariner style. So the many worlds of online dating, sometimes they're badlands, sometimes they're doldrums, sometimes they're rough seas, and often they sink you. So how to negotiate the treacherous waters of online dating. So first things first, oftentimes people will blame the dating sites. Okay, that happens a lot. Again, tempting to do. Totally understand the desire, but unfortunately, it just doesn't work. If it worked, I would condone it all the way. I have no like on principle, you know, issues with not taking responsibility with things. I wouldn't either if I didn't have to. It's not, you know, whatever. But then there's the going through, right? I mean, I think just about everybody understands the value of going through a difficult experience as opposed to avoiding it, right? There's value that's built, there's growth that's created, and that's what happens when you take responsibility, right? You face yourself, you face all the parts of yourself, and in general, you know, it may feel scary, but you always come out the other side, always. Okay, you never get stuck there. The beliefs that you have about yourself are, spoiler alert, never true. Never true. Even the good ones. The saying of whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. You know, this is powerful. Okay, it's powerful stuff. You are a powerful being. So if it seems crazy that you might be able to actually influence the world around you, or that you might partially be creating the world around you, things like that, then yeah, you know, take a look at that, because you know, you have a lot more influence than you think you do. So, you know, be aware. All right, so anyway, online dating. Okay, enough of the spiritual crap. Let's get to the online dating. So, the spiritual Badlands. No, that's pretty good too. Online dating Badlands. All right, so let's start with Tinder. All right, as far as one platform or another, Tinder, Bumble, Match, Plenty of Fish, OkCupid, whatever. It doesn't matter. I know people who use very, very high-end ones where they you go and sit down and have a meeting with these people, and they set you up on lunch dates with people, right? And then I know people who just sort of throw a profile up on Tinder. It's like, take your pick, okay? I've probably been on all of them at one point or another in my life. And genuinely, one is not necessarily better than the other by a lot that I personally have noticed. What I will say is that the platforms can vary quite a bit, and you need to find the one that really works for you. So, if Tinder really appeals to you, and that, that is a platform that you feel like you can really make an influence, you can actually meet people, and it's fun to do, and you find yourself enjoying it, great, use Tinder. What I do find a lot, though, is people blaming Tinder. Oh, Tinder does this, and the people who are on Tinder, ... Okay? All the people who are on Tinder do not probably have one thing in common. Okay? So it's probably not them. It's probably not Tinder. Tinder just is. Tinder is just a thing in the universe. Okay? Whether you put positive charge on it or you put negative charge on it is up to you. But there's nothing that's, you could spend years frustrated on Tinder, or you could, meet your wife on day one. I mean, both are probably about equally possible. Okay? So don't blame the platform. It doesn't do you any good. Again, if that were useful and that led you to, if it moved you from point A to point B, I would condone it. But it really doesn't. So really be aware of that, because it's really, again, it's that self-responsibility piece. If you're not taking responsibility for what's happening in your life experience, then you're doing yourself a disservice because you're causing yourself to be a victim. Okay? So always be aware of that. So Tinder is, so Tinder just is, right? I'm sorry, I'm just checking to make sure that I'm recording properly on my thing here. So, so within that platform, a lot is possible. Now, that being said, give yourself a good shot, okay? There's a lot of subjectivity in it. There's a lot of opinion in it. There's a lot of, some people will feel very strongly that X profile should have X. Some people will not care at all about that. But here are just some basic things that I've come across that have occurred to me that you may or may not find useful. But you're welcome to it. So, so again, it's not so much that the platform is good or bad. Watch out for blaming the outside world for your failures or your successes, to be honest. Sorry, just checking to make sure that I am live on the radio show, because sometimes I mess that up. Sorry guys, stand by for just a second. Okay, so I think it should be good there. Sorry about that. Technology, not necessarily my strong suit. So, okay, so the photos. So here's some of my pet peeves when I come across profiles on Tinder, okay? One is, I know that you went to that wedding and you were forced to dress up and you looked great and you want to include that photo, and that's fabulous. Wedding photos, not a bad thing at all. But if 4 out of your 5 photos are you with a group of people, you have to understand that nobody knows who you are, okay? So, so if you have every photo on there being a group, then you're just going to end up with a bunch of confused matches or not matches, all right? So the most important thing here, and every single thing I wrote down is reflective of this one particular thing, which is remember, as you're putting yourself out into the world, that people aren't seeing you the way you see you, okay? They're going to see you the way they see you, okay? So let me explain that. So you have to understand that if, the way you put yourself out is the way you want to be seen, but remember that they don't have the context of being you when they see those photos, okay? So, for example, if you say, if you put 4 photos up of you in a group, like, who you are, right? So that may sound like a logical thing, but they don't know who you are, so they're confused. Okay, so we're looking at these photos, and they've got 6 guys in them, and that's great, but we don't, you know what I mean? And you also have to be aware of the context that you're in, okay? This is a swiping, it's literally a swiping application, right? So you're going through, and sometimes there's sort of speed to that, and if if it takes a lot of work to get in, to break you open, to unveil the mysteries that are you, while that is a great thing, and the first 5 dates should definitely be like that, on your profile, that's really off-putting, okay? Because there's no intrigue. Okay, I'll give you an example. So one of my pet peeves with Tinder, and just me personally, is an empty profile. Okay, like if there's just photos, even if the photos are great, if the person doesn't write anything, then I tend to, it's like a default left for me. So, so what's significant to me about that, a few times I've swiped right on profiles like that, and because I'm in the dating field and I'm just a curious person in general, I will tend to ask. I'll say, out of curiosity, why don't you have anything on your profile? And what I've often heard, which is I just find really, really interesting, is people will say, oh, well, okay, I've heard 2 things. I've heard one thing is that nobody reads them anyway. Oh my God, where do I start? I'll come back to that. And the second one is that if they want to know me, they'll ask. Okay, great. So let's look at this from my perspective as someone who is swiping, looking for, someone to go out with, looking for a match, for a partner, and I come across this man's profile, and it's empty, and he's got, I don't know, a photo or 2 up. What is it exactly that makes me want to get to know you? See, to me, it's like you'll sort of go, oh, well, if you're interested, then you'll ask. Right, but what makes me interested? Because I just swiped on 10 people, and there's 11 more behind you. And by 11, I mean like 1,000. So to sort of sit there kind of with your arms crossed and be like, well, it's your fault because you're not taking time to get to know me on an application that is structured in this way is insanity. Okay? It's like the profiles that just say, ask me. Ask you what? How do I know that I want to ask you? If your job, you have to make yourself stand out, right? It's not just me and whether or not I'm, I don't know why, but even though I've just seen 30 photos go by on my phone, something about yours just reaches out to me. It's like there's just, you're not necessarily in that space. And so even if you're the right match, you may not match, So it's your job. If you are on there, okay, if you are on there in order to meet someone, then you need to make yourself appealing to the person that you want to attract, okay? So that is your responsibility. If you want to be chosen, then you get in line to be chosen. You don't sit in the corner with your arms folded, being bitter that you haven't been chosen. Do you see how it ends up being self-sabotage? Okay? You're cutting off your nose to spite your face, essentially. So that's a really important thing. You have to see it from, the perspective of the person that you want to attract, okay? I know that guys will sort of have this approach sometimes of just swiping for everyone to be like, I'll take anyone I possibly can, which is fine if you're trying to attract anyone you possibly can. But if you actually want to attract someone who's kind of worth your time, whatever that means to you, it's not like there's high quality and low quality per se, but people who interest you, if you want to see those, if you want to attract those people, then you need to put yourself out in a way that those people would find appealing. Okay? So empty profile. So that's the piece about having somebody else assuming that you're mysterious enough that despite the fact that you're surrounded by hundreds of other eligible bachelors, I'm going to pick you with that incredibly, incredibly, I'm trying to think of a word that I can't really think of, but essentially eloquent profile of ask me or nada. Don't be surprised if you're still, dateless at the end of the night on that one. And then the other thing of people don't read them. Oh my God. Okay, that... I don't know. This one just baffles me so much. It's like, I think the thing that's wrong with the world is people don't read profiles, and so I'm not going to write a profile so that more people can not read profiles. You see what I mean? It's so much more self-sabotage than you can even really, even than the first one. If you don't think that people read them, here's the thing: you're trying to attract the person you're trying to attract, right? So if you wish more people read profiles, okay, and you want to attract someone who reads profiles, which I assume you do because you're upset about not enough people reading profiles in the world. If that's the case, then why would you remove your profile? Why instead wouldn't you write a profile that's really great and then only answer the females who then have proven that they've read your profile? You see what I mean? So if if that's something you want more of, you're lowering yourself to the level of people that you just said that you were upset with because they don't read profiles. So if be the change you want to see in the world. God damn it, right? Up your game. Up your game. What do you want? What kind of person do you want to attract? Is it the kind of person who reads profiles? Then forget everybody else because those aren't the ones you want. Okay? If you're serious, then to me you would need to write a profile. That partially may just be my opinion, but I think I'm right, which is kind of given since it's my opinion. So for me, what that specifically says to me is if a profile is empty, then you flat out don't care. It was literally not even worth the 5 or 10 minutes that it can be done in to put that out there. That's it, to me. It says it shows how little effort that you're putting into not just your profile, but then sort of by association your dating attempt, your search, right? So then to me, I go, well, if you don't care enough to write a 5-minute profile, then I'm certainly not going to go out for a drink with you, And that may be logical or it may not, but there's my pet peeve. Okay? All right. And then the group photos, okay? The group photos have got to stop. She doesn't know who you are, okay? They don't know who you are. We don't know who you are. We have no idea, okay? And don't put photos with your, I'm sorry, I'm just going to dip down and be shallow for just a second. Don't put up photos with your, like, super smoking hot model brother either. Like, there's just no need for that. Or your smoking hot model sister. You know, there's a lot of very highly evolved sexuality and relationship structures in today's world, and not everybody has them, okay? And the person that you want may or may not have them. So if you post a picture with your beautiful sister and you don't say in your profile that it's your sister, I tend to give the benefit of the doubt, but I think rather atypical in that form. From what I've heard from other people that I've spoken to, it's a turnoff. Even the idea of it, even if it's nothing, it just is. That just is kind of just one of the bummer realities there. So there's that. Photos. Okay, have more than one. More than one is a red flag to me personally. Okay, it sort of indicates that. Well, honestly, it doesn't indicate enough. If you are only posting one photo, it doesn't, the intention of the profile is to give a sense of yourself, okay, to communicate a sense of who you are to the other person so that they can see whether or not they're interested in dating you, right? Seems like it should be simple. And yet. So keep that in mind. You need to give a sense of yourself, okay? So yeah, a couple different angles, some smiling maybe, some not. Put up photos that you feel represent who you are, okay? And some of this can be kind of logical, and it can be, okay, I want to meet rock climbing because I spend a lot of time rock climbing, and that could be great. But a lot of times it could be like, if you're more of an intuitive type, what gives a sense of you? What photo do you feel wraps you up in some way, okay? And we need to be able to see you. Like, that's just kind of the world that we live in right now. Not just sort of attraction-wise or even shallowness or vanity-wise, but safety-wise, okay? You can, people are interacting every single day, and it's pretty well known that words are not the primary communicator in communication, right? You're not getting most of your information from words. I think it's 80% is actually body language. So obviously you don't have body language on Tinder, but what you do have is photos of you sort of relaxing a certain way, or sitting back a certain way, or however it is that's sort of comfortable for you, that gives a sense of yourself, okay? So what's actually happening, although it's not as easily measurable by the tools we currently have in science, is that you're reading energy, okay? You're always picking up on energetic this or that in human interaction, okay? And so, even though it's online and you only have this tiny little sliver, it's actually very possible to communicate a really good sense of yourself in a Tinder profile, okay? Or any other profile, by the way. I'm just sort of using Tinder as an example right now, and we'll go into the other ones in just a minute. But it's very, very easy. So be aware that that all of those things are communicating, and that you don't just say, well, I don't want to put these two photos together because I'm wearing a red shirt in both. It's like, okay, is that the most important thing, or is it that you have a picture with your face and the dog's licking you and it's a cute and it sort of shows your playfulness side, or whatever you feel is important, okay, about what a person that you would want to go out on a date with. Remember, you're looking for a certain type of person, not just anyone on Tinder who will go out with you, because that's a can of worms you do not want to open up. So make sure that they represent you in some way, whatever that means. And I know that I'm not being incredibly specific here, and that's really intentional because it really depends on you. Okay, it's what's important to you. So group photos, cut them out. don't worry about sort of even showing diverse photos. It could be that you in the same room each time, but as long as it gives a sense, okay? Try and communicate that, what is it you want to communicate to the person that you would want to have a date with, okay? Create a profile for your ideal match partner, okay? A lot of people, I think, they create profiles for themselves, which is great if you were swiping for yourself, but literally, no matter how many millions of people are on Tinder and how many you could travel the world and swipe on every single one of them, you would never swipe on yourself. It's literally the only person you do not need to impress on Tinder. So be aware of that, right? Who are you trying to attract, okay? And that brings me to fish. Oh, fish. So now, to be fair, I live in the South, which I love and adore very much. And there's a lot of profiles with men holding fish up in my area. Now, first of all, I love fishing, okay? I think it's one of the, it's a really fantastic thing to do. It's super meditative, and I find it very relaxing. I enjoy it very much. That being said, a picture of you holding up a huge fish does not make me want to take your pants off. It just doesn't. It doesn't. Nothing against fishing, nothing against you fishing. But the fact that I see it so often that it gives me the impression that the person posting it thinks that we're really pleased with that, as a man would be. And what strikes me about that is that the men put these up as if they're attracting other men who would more logically be impressed by the size of someone's fish. So, if you're attracting men, then I would recommend putting up a fish picture. If you would like to attract other fishing, hunting, male types. Most fishing, hunting, male types that I know are not interested in other men, first of all. And also, I'm swiping on them, so they obviously have their profiles, their Tinder set to attracting women. So most women that I know are not really interested in a man for the size of fish that he can catch. They're just not. That's not what they value in a life partner. Okay? Now, if fishing is such a big deal to you that you absolutely only want a woman who fishes, that is when it is appropriate to put a fish picture up. And it's very possible that every single person that I've seen who has done this feels that way about fishing, but I've seen it so very many times that I'm just gonna err on the side of probably not. Okay? So again, is this profile for you, or is it for the woman that you want to attract? Okay? You need to create a profile that is intended to attract the person you want to attract. Make it for her, okay? Not for you. Just because that's your favorite picture doesn't mean. Look at the pictures that you choose. Is that your favorite picture of you, or is that one that you feel your ideal mate would find appealing? Okay, so from a female perspective, let's go to that real quick. Let's say you're a woman on Tinder, and you've got a picture that, of you, I don't know, with a lot of cleavage or in something super sexy or kind of slutty or whatever, which is great. I'm a big fan of sexy and slutty. But let's say that you actually want to attract someone who, you've got issues feeling objectified. Okay, well, if you have issues feeling objectified, then don't objectify yourself, okay, on your Tinder profile. That will help, okay? If you're looking for a conservative man who loves you for your brain, then putting, miniskirt shots up is against your own intention. So you see what I mean? You see what I mean? There's no agenda, It's not that for the most part some photos are better than others or not. It's about what you want and how aligned you are with that intention, okay? And this is why, I've done this work with so many different areas of life, not just with dating and relationships, because really it's just about clarifying what it is that you want and then getting there in the shortest way possible. Okay, so so what tends to happen is people will say, you know, that woman who, let's say, is takes offense or has issues around being objectified, she will then she will then put up a photo that causes her to be more objectified subconsciously, right? This is all happening subconsciously. Same as the example with the man who keeps getting rejected earlier that we talked about earlier. So she will then put up a somewhat provocative photo, or she will be drawn to more provocative areas of life, and then she will then be more objectified, and it will anger her more. So then that she's sort of in that balance, or excuse me, in that sort of back and forth, right? Kind of rock and a hard place type of thing. So, it's really about self-sabotage. The entire thing could kind of come down to self-sabotage. You know, you say that you want to meet someone, but you're frustrated that no one reads profiles, and so you don't put a profile, and then you don't meet someone. Or excuse me, nobody writes in your profile, and so you don't write anything in your profile, and then you don't meet someone. So we kind of screw ourselves, you know, in these sort of small, subtle ways, and it just doesn't serve us. And then we just don't get what we want, right? And that sort of leads us to kind of where the world is. Okay, so a few more things, and so let's go back to sort of like the more logical, you know, physical world dating level. So fuzzy photos, okay, or photos where you can't see your face, okay. It's not like you can have a photo of your dog, okay. Don't have 3. You can only have like 5 on there, I think. So don't use more than 1 on anything but you is my recommendation, because you're not serving yourself, right? If your intention is to meet someone, then put your best foot forward, you know, impress us, let's go. And other ways around. This isn't a gender thing. Women, up your game, you know, up your damn game. I've seen unbelievable Tinder profiles from women that are just, there's just no way, you know, I can look at it instantly and say this is not going to lead you to the person that you say that you want, right, that you consciously want. So it's kind of about aligning those unconscious patterns with your conscious desires, right? And that's how you get what you want in life, in everything. Money, business, love, health, weight, physical body, you know, safety, happiness, spirituality, everything, okay? So, so blurry photos, you know, you've got to just up your game. Again, it shows that you have no, that you either don't know that that's a really sloppy job, which does not speak highly for you, or that you don't care enough to find one or to take one that's good. Either way, there's no way that, you know, that a woman who's not totally desperate really is gonna be, you know, drawn to that, unfortunately. So blurry, no go. Come on, up your game. Ones where you can see your face. You've got to show who you are. Okay, we've got to have a sense of you in order to know whether or not we're attracted. That's what this entire game is about, attraction. Okay, so you can have another photo. You know, yeah. So you're, you know, with the face one, it's like you can have one where you're sort of far away with you know, maybe your favorite trail or on a mountain, or you show that you're rock climbing. It doesn't quite show your face. That's fine. But like one. Okay. Remember, the intention is to give a sense of yourself so that you can attract someone, okay? You have to actually do the attracting if you want to be drawn, right? If you want to draw someone in, you have to put yourself out there. You have to be there, and then there's something for us to be attracted to, okay? So, yeah, have a photo with other people if you need to. That's fine, but like one, okay? Remember, we do not know who you are. So sometimes you can have, you know, somebody will have a photo of them and then a group photo so I can kind of recognize. But like other times I've had individual, you know, photos of the guy alone and then a group shot, and I still don't know who he is. I don't know which one he is. So it's you with your groomsmen, your buddies at the wedding or on poker night or what the hell ever, and I can't recognize who you are. It's crazy talk. There's just, you know, what is the point of being online? You know, what are you doing? You could be doing other things for your time. Okay. Oh yeah, and then being like uber close up, like sort of like half your face. I mean, just come on. Remember, this is our only impression of you. So if you put two photos of your dog and um, you know two group photos and one that's sort of blurry or holding up a fish, it's like that's our impression of you. That's all. That's all we have. Come on now. Okay, no shirtless selfies. Um, I'm going to be honest, and I may be in the minority here. I don't have strong opinions about shirtless selfies. If you are coming across as a douche, I think you will do it with your shirt on or your shirt off. Just my thoughts on the matter. I don't think that shirtless selfies are inherently douchey, but I do think that, it's maybe a strike in the sense that if, if I don't know you. Remember, I don't know if you're douchey or not, so you may be completely rad and just be like really excited. Like I think I had a conversation. I like to ask, guys that I that I matched with about their about their profile sometimes because this is my field and it interests me. And so I've asked before, and I've had people say, I've like, maybe I made a tongue-in-cheek or sort of a, actually it probably wasn't very kind, actually, now that I think about it, type of comment about, the shirtless selfie or just kind of making a joke. And he said, he responded very thoughtfully, actually. He said, rather than seeing this as me showing off for you, think of it as me being proud of what I've accomplished because I've worked really, really, really hard for this. And I thought that was interesting. And that sort of gave me a new perspective on that. And I went, oh, okay, I sort of see that. That being said, you are flirting with a stereotype. So it's possible that you'll self-sabotage there whether you mean to or not. So again, here we come back to the subtle forms of self-sabotage. So you may not be douchey at all, and you may just be like, I used to be 300 pounds, and now I'm 195, and I'm rock hard, and I'm so proud of myself, and this is great, and it's really actually very healthy. Good. And know that you're on the same site, you're on a site that literally has this energy around it, right? This stereotype, this upset. People get, sorry, I'm losing my words a little bit. I stutter sometimes. But it's people trying to people sort of deciding what things mean and sort of getting lost in these stereotypes, and there's all this sort of rah 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 about it. Oh, shirtless selfies. Da, da, da. So even though you're really proud of your body and you're, not that person at all, maybe just keep that one back for now. Maybe default to being more reserved about that, since that is what people tend to assume, right? So even if you're doing something in a great way, I'm the woman we were talking about earlier who's sort of wearing something kind of risque. She may have lost a huge amount of weight. She may be a fitness person now, and she's so proud of herself because that was really hard for her to do. That's great. It's a very complex part of yourself to try and communicate through one photo. It is. So again, don't expect me to understand the context of what you're saying because I don't have the context of what you're saying. All I can see is literally what you're putting out there. Okay, so just be really, really aware of that. And then, so the last thing I want to say about that is and the one-word messages. If you're going to write something. Do it. Write a message. Think about it. The entire platform is so, it's so fast, right? I mean, you're there for a second. Sometimes it's just a flash. It's less than a second that you're really spending with that person. Maybe you're, who knows, all the things that people might be doing while they're on Tinder. Maybe they're drunk. Maybe they're, who knows. So that's really your one message. So your one moment. So if you do match with someone, say something. Say something interesting. Slow down. We're talking about your dating life. If you are actually single about finding someone and you can't put the effort in to write a profile, take some decent photos, and represent yourself with care, then you're probably not serious about dating someone, which is fine, but then don't be disappointed when you don't find it. Okay? So maybe take some time and actually think about what you really want in this area too. That's really worth doing, because what ends up happening is you experience disappointment, and really you're so glad that that person didn't write back, because you don't actually want to go out with anyone. You just kind of want to play hot or not. Did I just date myself? Does anybody remember Hot or Not? I was actually a little young for Hot or Not when that first came out, but I remember people who were older and cooler than I was talking about it. I would never in a million years have had the self-confidence to do that at that time, but basically I think that's maybe sometimes how people are using it. So, so if you're, and if you are really serious, and this is the last thing I'll say about this, but if you are really serious, then really take some time. Really take some time and look at whether or not, that's really the best forum, okay? Because it is so fast, and it is so, it just goes across so swiftly, right? You're swiping, that person's there, and then they're gone, and so really look at, what you actually want out of that, and if something serious is what you're looking for, then I would slow down, If you're actually looking for someone to go out on a date with this week, then try this, okay? Get on Tinder, dating site, whatever, and message between 1 and 3 people. That's it. And then stop. Find 3 people that you would really like to go out with, and then stop. And until you either go out with those people or lose interest on either side, don't swipe anymore, okay? Because sometimes we're just getting overwhelmed by the options. We're just getting overwhelmed by the options. So, even if your match, your one person comes across your profile, it's possible that she may miss it. Okay. So, so if you are serious, slow down with it. Okay. It's tricky because we do have all these options. And we do have, the platform itself is set up to really, to be that fast and to be that easy. And sometimes what we really need is that self-control. Really, really, it can often come down to that. So it really can come down to that. And so try slowing down if you are serious. If it's more fun to play Hot or Not, then do that. But if you're playing Hot or Not and you're disappointed on a regular basis, and you're bitching about not being able to find someone and things like that, really look at that. If you're serious, be serious about it. Take it seriously. Take your time. Message, connect with the people that you meet. You're going to have to make yourself do it, because unfortunately the platform doesn't do it for you. It used to be you would only meet a few people, and so you had more time to process that person, to take them in. And now that it's so easy to just eliminate them and move to something else, it's crazy, right? But if that's your intention, then you need to respect that. And you need to have that be your intention. That's it. This is what I'm going to do. Okay. So pick a few people and say, hi, I'm really interested in getting to know you. And if, within 3 messages, you're like, nope, I'm sorry. Or, whatever, 10. Or you go out for coffee and you're like, nope, I'm sorry, that's not it. Great. It's the end of that interaction. Then you've got one more, right? Or if one sort of ghosts you or doesn't sort of follow through or things like that, then you have somebody that you can, you're speaking with someone else. Okay, great. Well, we'll go out. We'll go out then. Okay, so you have between 1 and 3 people at a time. Okay, and it's a challenge. See if it helps for you. So there's ever so much more information that I could go into on online dating. I will definitely have it as a topic again, probably very soon. Maybe I'll even do it next week. As always, please feel free to write in with your questions. You can find me Dominey Drew Coaching on Facebook. Again, that's DOMINEY DREW. And I'm at Dominey Drew on Instagram and at Dominey Drew on Twitter. So feel free to write in your questions, comments, concerns. If you if you have anything that you really want to work on, you're always welcome to call in during the show, or just write it out beforehand, and I'll address it here. So I look forward to everybody's questions and comments, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.